Please join me in prayer. Remain standing. Being that Veterans Day just passed, I would like to ask the Lord to bless all the veterans. And we found out that we lost one of our amazing little citizens here recently. Bailey Rocha passed away. And dear Lord, please bless her. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Caton?
Present.
Councilmember Kelly?
Present.
Councilmember Crinkle?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina?
Present.
Mayor Fantasia?
Present. Declarations of conflicts of interest. You want to mention Mike?
Mayor, I will have a conflict on items 10A, B, and C as previously discussed.
Okay. Ceremonial matters. We have a badge pinning this evening. Chief?
Mayor, members of the City Council, good evening. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our newest police officer in the Newman Police Department. He started with us on October the 11th, and he's here tonight for his official swearing in and badge pinning. And before I do that, I'd like to say a few words about Miguel Villalobos so that you have a better understanding of the high-quality individuals that we bring into the Newman Police Department. Miguel Villalobos was born in Modesto, attended Modesto High School, and graduated from Modesto High in 1990. Just happens to be exactly 20 years after I graduated high school, but that's okay. He attended MJC College, and he is one math class away from achieving his AA degree. So he will have his AA degree very shortly. While attending college, he worked for what would be his future father-in-law, a cherry farmer in Patterson. And he had met his wife in high school. Glafura? Yeah. All right, thank you. They were high school sweethearts, and they were married in 1996. They've been married for 11 years. They have 2 daughters. One is 2, is going to turn 3 in January, if I recall. And the other one is 1 year old. And Miguel will be happy when he doesn't see any more diapers in his. And I think his wife feels the same way. Miguel's law enforcement career started with Ceres Police Department in 2001, where he was appointed reserve officer. He was hired by Gustine Police Department in 2002. He attended the Ray Simon Academy, where he was the class treasurer. He worked for Gustine Police Department for 5 years. During those 5 years, he was a patrol officer, gang officer, field training officer. He was also a department instructor in the use of the taser and impact weapons. And Miguel is also bilingual, which is a great attribute to have in our community. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you tonight, Miguel Villalobos. Hey, Mayor, would you like to administer the oath?
Please proceed, Chief.
Okay, thank you. At the last swearing-in ceremony, I went into quite a bit of detail on the significance of the oath of office and what it means when we do swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That we are willing, by giving our word, our oath, to lay down our lives if need be and step in harm's way if need be, in order to defend the Constitution and all the laws that flow forth from the Constitution. This will be the 3rd time you've taken the oath of office, so I know you've said these words before, but I just want to reiterate what it means when we make the solemn vow that we make tonight. Also, we talk about in the oath that we don't have any mental reservations, no second thoughts of taking this oath of office. And it's without purpose of evasion. We're not evading anything. Nobody's making us take this oath, but we take it freely. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Miguel Villalobos,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear
and I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will,
and that I will,
well and faithfully,
well and faithfully,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I
upon which I am
am about to enter.
about to enter.
Congratulations. Welcome. Newman. And Miguel, who would you like to pin your badge on tonight?
My wife.
Okay.
Smart move. We've had 3 people bleed out here thanks to the computer.
Did you have your badge? Okay. After the third time, I thought you'd have this down. So I'd also like to welcome you and your family into the Newman Police family. Okay, pleasure meeting you. And would you like to make some introductions and say a few words?
Not really, but I was told.
Oh,
Cadillac reflex.
I'd like to thank Chief Oliver for giving me the opportunity to come to Newman and all the council members and city manager. And I look forward to serving this community like I've served other communities. I'd like to thank my family and friends for being here today. I'd like to especially thank my wife for supporting me through those years of the academy, or the 6 months of the academy I went through. And hopefully in the future, my kids will remember this like I remember it fondly. Thank you very much.
this is where all the officers go in the back for milk and cookies. Never invite us, but. And donuts. That's not nice. We have a proclamation this evening for World Diabetes Day. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to catch the last paragraph. I, John Fanazia, Mayor of the City of Newman, do hereby proclaim November 14th as World Diabetes Day in support of the UN resolution. I encourage all Newmanites to help fight this disease and its life-threatening complications by increasing awareness of the risk factors for diabetes, making healthy lifestyle choices, and by providing care and treatment to those suffering from diabetes. Moving on, item 7, items from the public, non-agenda items. If anybody has anything that they'd like to bring before us that is not on tonight's posted agenda, now would be the time. Seeing no one, if you'd like to comment on agenda item this evening, please raise your hand, come to the podium, state your name and address, and try to keep your comments to under 3 minutes. Consent calendar, item A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants, and C, approval of minutes of the October 23rd, 2007 regular meeting. Could I have some direction on the consent calendar?
I so move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Public hearings, we have the one this evening. Public hearing, introduction of ordinance number 2007, next to number. An ordinance amending Title IV Building Regulations of the Newman City Code, incorporating the California Code of Regulations, Title 24, 2007 edition of the California Building Standards Code.
Thank you, Mayor. We have our supervising building inspector, Mike Brinkman, here to do a quick report for you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council. Every 3 years, the building industry updates their model codes to reflect the improvement and adjustment of the newest materials and methods of construction. Currently, California is using the 2001 California Building Code, which is modeled after 1997 Uniform Building Code. They skipped their 2004 cycle so that they can get together with the rest of the nation and adopt the International Building Code. So that's what the 2007 edition is modeled after, 2006 International Building Code. And this adoption ordinance is just to reflect the City of Newman's municipal code, to update it to the most current building codes and standards. That's it.
Mike, we have, was 3 letters actually were given to us tonight. I'm just, correction though, on Envision Homes, I don't know if you got the same copies of the letters that we got.
Get any letters ready.
They refer to Title 24, one refers to Title 4. It's Title 4, correct?
Title 4 of the Newman Municipal Code.
Okay.
Title 24 of the California
Code of Regulations.
Okay,
Building
okay.
Standards Code.
So I guess, question, Envision and SCM both asked that we delay it, but the BIA asked that we support it and go forward. Is there any reason?
Regardless, January 1st, 2008, it's going, the 2007 building code is.
No, I understand it. I guess I'm curious as to why these 2 builders are asking us to delay it, but SEM's or the BIA is saying go for it. Does that make any sense?
They have master plans that are based on the 2001 code, and in order to update to 2007, they have to resubmit using the 2007 building code, which requires a whole brand new submittal of
So
master.
irregardless, in January of 2008, it goes in effect.
Right.
And so with SEM asking us to delay it till April, why?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, they could apply for permits and be issued permits this year and build next year using today's codes.
Okay.
But they need to get their permits this year.
Okay.
So they would have to actually pull the permits, that's what it is, Mike?
Right.
Yeah. Because once if they don't pull the permits, then if they wait till after the first year, then, I mean, it's out of our hands, there's nothing we can do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And Mayor, just for a matter of notice, we did, or have we sent out the notices yet, Mike?
Yeah,
or-
they're out.
Okay, so we've sent notices to all the builders that they have until December 31st, 2007 to pull a building permit, for the city to issue a building permit under the existing code, at which point they have 180 days to get their first inspection. Once they get their first inspection, they automatically get another 180 days before they need a second inspection. They have to make progress towards that. So we've put them on notice and given them that notice that all permits that are issued January 1st, 2008 or later must be in compliance with the new California building code. So, and we will honor anything that is issued by the City of Newman on before December 31st, 2007. But we will not be granting extensions. And the reason we're doing that is it's very difficult for our inspectors in the field to be trying to inspect houses that are built under different codes. So if you have your building permit and it's issued, keep moving it forward, but we're not going to get you an extension because we need to weed through all those old permits so that way our building inspectors know that they're working with the new California 2007, I think it's called, building code.
So Michael, how does this affect SCM then?
Well, I particularly I don't know, but realistically what they have to do, what all builders are going to have to do is you have to resubmit your master plans. And what that means is each developer has a master plan, which is a set of building plans to build each house floor plan. They go to the building department, they submit a set of housing plans for a floor plan. It gets mastered. By them mastering it, that means they can repeatedly build off of the same set of plans. Now they're going to have to they've had those approved for a while now. They're going to have to resubmit those and make the changes according to the new 2007 California Building Code. So their architects are going to have to take a look at their plans, find out where they're inconsistent with the 2007 California Building Code, make the appropriate adjustments, resubmit those to our building department, and, you know, in case the council doesn't know, we guarantee a 15 business day turnaround on those plans, which is great. You know, you don't see that in larger cities, 15 business day turnaround on a master plan. So, you know, they still have a little bit of time. That's only 3 weeks. If they get the plans in, we turn them around on 3 weeks and get those back. So they have to remaster their house plans, if you will.
I actually had a developer call me today, or a builder, and what he said was for each plan, you know, house model, it was going to cost them about $5,000. So in other words, if they were building 20 houses of that same plan, it would break down into, you know, percentage, 5,000 for all those 20 houses, if that's the way I understood it.
Each floor plan.
Each floor plan, yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Each
Yeah.
floor
Each
plan.
floor plan. So if a developer had 6 floor plans in a subdivision, then it would cost them $30,000, I guess. That's the example he told me, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds about right.
And Mayor, and I don't know if you want me to read these into the record, but we did get a letter from the Building Industry Association of Central California, Envision Homes, which is a builder in our community, as well as SCM Homes of California, who is also a builder in our community. So we will attach those and make sure that those are at least entered into the minutes that we did receive these letters.
I mean, I think all the council received those unless you'd like Michael to read them. I mean,
That's not necessary.
Well, it wouldn't matter anyway, would it? I mean, if it's going into effect January 1st, even if we gave an extension, it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah, and if you looked under the building industry's letter, you know, they say that we were afforded some I forget how he vested, some considerable discretion as to the regards of the timing of the permits. So we think by saying if you get a permit issued prior to January 1st, you're good to go. What we're trying to prevent is builders coming in and submitting 150 applications on December 31st and saying, okay, my application was submitted on December 31st, therefore it's good, and then we have to, you know, track all those, get all those done, and they may or may not pick those up. So the permit has to be issued by the city, and that means all fees paid by December 31st.
And of course, our concern is that if you didn't comport with this and there's a problem with the homes later, then the city is named in a lawsuit because you didn't hold somebody to the standard.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
and we're not lawmakers here for California. We're just trying to enforce what California's code enforcers came up with.
So you receive quite a lengthy series of pages in there, and that's because there's Title 4, I believe it is, of the municipal code is quite lengthy, and so there are certain things that have to be struck and re-added, and so Mr. Brinkman did a very good job of going through our entire code and making the appropriate strikeouts and changes.
Any other questions from the council? I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment on this item? See no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for some direction.
I would move that, let's see, introduction of first reading of ordinance amending Newman Municipal Code Title 4, incorporating the California Code of Regulations Title 24, 2007 edition of the California Building Standards Code.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Moving on, regular business. Item A. Before we start, I'd like to read.
With the Tom.
Oh, yeah, we're done. Our first item A is going to be review of the final direction on the draft letter to County Board of Supervisors. I wrote a few thoughts down that I'd like to open with because I'm not a good public speaker, I'll admit that. And during the Monday night game last night, which got boring real fast and ugly for my team, I guess, not the city manager's team, I just started writing some thoughts down, so bear with me. This shouldn't take but a couple minutes, and hopefully to clear the air on a couple things. As most of you know, I'm not your typical elected official. I don't make big flashy speeches. I just work hard behind the scenes to get things done. I try to be courteous to all public speakers, whether I like what they have to say or not. I will meet with anyone and hear their concerns, and surely don't attack people in public meetings. I credit my good demeanor to having been born and raised in Newman, and of course to my parents' guidance. I've been on the Crow's Landing Steering Committee since 2002. I spent hundreds of hours at meetings and going over report after report. What started out to be a once-in-a-lifetime chance to have economic growth on the west side has turned ugly. The steering committee was not happy that only 2 developers answered the RFP for Crow's Landing. It was even talked about going back out in hopes of getting more companies to respond to the county's request, but that didn't happen. So here we are today. Do I want trains to have a negative impact on the everyday lives of my friends and neighbors in Patterson? Of course not. It has been said that the wrong developer was chosen. If that's the case, then do we want a bigger footprint with Lear jets flying over Patterson Newman 24/7? Of course not. What has to stop is the personal attacks at public meetings, calling developers crooks, transportation experts scumbags, and accusing supervisors of being on the take. These remarks will not get us anywhere, and I will not tolerate them any longer in my meetings. If this occurs, you will be asked to leave. So in my opinion, if we don't like one developer, then we don't like either. Maybe we should go back to square one and start over and see if another developer will stick to the original plan. I don't know. Of the 1,500 acres. What I would like to hear more from, though, is townspeople of Crow's Landing who live with a dilapidated water system and are still on septic tanks. Whatever happens, though, the whole west side must get on the same page and decide what we want to happen. What would be a crime, though, is to not at least explore some kind of job creation at the base, especially when Newman and Patterson continue to build and plan for more housing. Thank you very much. Those are my opening comments, and we'll go from there. Gentlemen? Go back to the letter that was written. Any changes to it, or what do we want to do, or?
I think, in my opinion, I'm pleased with the letter that our city manager drafted, and I concurred with Councilman Krinkle that we wait till we have a full council to decide to go forward or not. And I think we're all here. I think we decide if we're going to send this letter off or not, and I'm in favor of the letter.
Is that a motion?
I would move that we approve the letter as written and instruct our city manager to forward off to Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item B, adopt resolution number 2007, next to number, a joint resolution regarding Crow's Landing Air Base development.
Thank you, Mayor. Over the past couple of weeks, the city manager of Patterson and myself have worked on this this joint resolution that you see before you today. And so I know that the Patterson City Council has considered it, and it's my understanding that they adopted it. Patterson Unified is supposed to be looking at it. I have made the presentation to Newman Crow's Landing Unified to look at this particular joint resolution, and it's going to be submitted to all the county agencies, west side agencies and organizations for their review and possible action. So in speaking again with the city manager from Patterson, I just submitted this for your review and potential action on that. So I'd like to get your comments on it and what your thoughts are, and if you'd like me to revise it or move forward or drop it all entirely.
Michael, like your letter, I read the resolution several times, and I think the wording is proper. And I'm glad you spoke with the school district, because I think they're realizing that there's also an interest on their side with the project size of this, the impact it's going to have on the school district in terms of even if they're successful in getting 37,000 jobs, cut that number in half, cut that number in a third. The impact it would have on our school district would be overwhelming. Our schools are impacted as it is now. And I can only go back to the Diablo Grande project, when they stated that their kids wouldn't be coming to our schools. Ask the school district now how many kids are being bused to our school district, and the impact that's had on our district, and it's going to continue to have on our district. So I think you're going to find that, I would hope that the school district will take a serious look at it. I know Dr. Foss is considering it, and he's brought it to his board. I think not only our school district, but probably Patterson, I think you're going to see other cities within Stanislaus County are going to start maybe opening their eyes a little bit and become maybe a little bit more vocal to understand that, as we said before, I don't think, we're not against the project. We're just, the size, the magnitude of it, the impact it's going to have on our community is going to be tremendous. So I like the resolution, and I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 2007, next in number, a joint resolution regarding Crow's Landing Air Base development.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Yeah, at this time, in between the B and C here, we'll let's have everybody come up that is in favor of the project. Let's start there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought we were going to have a chance to comment on the resolution. And I'm sorry that we weren't given that chance before you took action. First, I'd like to make a clarification. I know that you mentioned, Councilman, the issue of education. I know that 2 weeks ago here, it was mentioned that Senator Denham had a bill that would require school districts to accept as students the children of employees of firms in their districts. And I know that comment was also made by a city employee at their last school district meeting in Newman, Crow's Landing. So I thought that was odd, and I called up Senator Denham's office, and I said, what's the deal on this bill? And the bill, and there is an actual bill, is SB 170, and it has been chaptered into law. It passed the House and the Assembly and the Senate unanimously. It had Democrat votes, Republican votes, liberal votes, left-wing votes, right-wing votes. It had all the votes. It was supported by numerous school boards and the Teachers Association. And it struck me as like, why would this bill that did this to students, to school districts be so supported? And the reason it was is because it's merely a continuation of current law, and there is no mandate, none whatsoever, that the receiving school district has to take anybody. None. So the suggestion that they do is flat out wrong. Senator Denham didn't carry a bill that makes your school district or any other school district take in everyone who has who works in the city or the district who has children and they want to put in the local schools. It doesn't do that. So the suggestion that it does is flat out wrong. And it ought to be corrected because this was part of the testimony on at least 2 occasions in Newman, at least 1 occasion in at the Newman Crow's Landing School District. I have the analysis of the bill. I have the bill. I have the roll call vote of the bill. I would like this put in record because it's wrong, and we ought not keep saying stuff that's flat out wrong. So,
Well, I don't, Mike, I guess my question to you would be, not that our district would have to take them,
well,
but,
actually, what's said.
well, but that, irregardless of that, I guess my point, as being a former school board member, is if we have families move into our community, are we gonna send them to Gustine, send them to Patterson, send them to Modesto? If they live in our community, they're gonna want their kids to go to school in our district.
Well, if people
And
live there, yes,
I think,
correct.
I think my comment in regards to impact, is that this district is already feeling the impact of our growth as it is. And our district is struggling to house students. And, with a project this size, for them to say, well, geez, and again, just like Diablo Grande say, well, our kids aren't gonna go to your schools. Geez, they're all gonna go to private schools. That's
No,
not
they-
happening.
Councilman, I agree with your statements about people who move here will send their kids to.
Of course,
schools
and
here.
I would think that,
And that's
I would
not
think
the
that
point I'm
anybody
responding
who's
to.
moved into our community would want their kids to go to our school.
Right. We're talking about people who work at the Crow's Landing facility, and the statement was made that those kids kids of those people who work here.
Well, that falls within our school district.
Right, would go to schools here. And
Certainly.
they can't do that unless the school district approves it.
Well,
You know.
if the impact is felt such that if they got so overburdened where there was actually no more room to put butts in seats, they would probably have to take that action.
No, I mean, they don't have to. I mean,
But they're going to.
they're gonna accept all the kids from.
They're going to accept as many
all
as
the
they
kids
possibly
from
can
people
house.
like
Certainly
if
they
you
are.
work in Turlock, you're gonna take your kid to Turlock to a school?
Well, then they have to get an inter-district transfer.
Well, what I'm telling you is the suggestion was made that there'd be 37,000 people sending their students to local schools, and it's just not true. That was not Senator Denham's bill, and it was argued that it was. The issue of the resolution is fundamental. The issue of the resolution is go to a smaller footprint, go to the original base footprint, the one that we helped draft the legislation for when we transferred the base to Stanislaus County. The mayor was part of the steering committee. There were numerous hearings on this. The size, the footprint issue was resolved at the Board of Supervisors. Both applicants suggested footprints larger than 1,500 acres. The one applicant that didn't make the selection, that didn't make the cut, said he would stay within 1,500, but they wanted the chance to expand, and they submitted maps for 6,000 acres plus. The West Park proposal was 4,800 acres from the start. It has not expanded, it has not grown, it does not include houses, none of those things are in there. This is simply about jobs. And the suggestion that you can take now and go back to the smaller footprint, right in the middle of all the analysis, right in the middle of all the draft technical reports, right in the middle of all these discussions, and finding out the information is frankly somewhat obstructionist and counterproductive. Because in April, actually in December, the Board of Supervisors takes another look at whether or not West Park has made its deliverable assignments and decides yes or no. Now you have until April. And in April, the board decides whether or not it's made its deliverables and has a project. And then the whole process starts again. We've had over 13 ad hoc committee members chaired by Supervisor DeMartini and Senator Supervisor Monteith, which the mayor participated in some of them, the people in Patterson have participated in some. They haven't been at all of them. We've done our best in outreach. We've posted our technical reports. The city manager got his at our meeting on Monday. And frankly, the suggestion that we are not trying to engage the community is false. The suggestion that people can just go back to the original base footprint and not have enormous consequences financially for the surrounding communities is just absolutely false. You're not going to be able to pay for it. Even the group that said they would stay within the 1,500 acres said they needed to have, in that case, STIP funds to pay for the roads. Well, you know what? STIP funds comes from Newman and Patterson and Turlock and Modesto and Riverbank and Oakdale. That's where STIP funds come from. And if you jump priorities, you guys know what that's like. So all I'm telling you is that this is a very complicated process. It is a process that's extraordinarily in-depth. It is a process where we have reached out. It is a process where we are gathering an enormous amount of data that's going to benefit the whole community. And frankly, I think the resolution is premature. I think it's just a tactic to cause more confusion and it's obstructionist in its goal. And that's my opinion. I would appreciate you tabling the resolution because I think it does absolutely nothing productive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. I'm Leroy McDonald. I'm the guy that's been taking a whipping in your newspapers locally here, and I don't mind taking a whipping because I'm fighting for a cause that I know that is just and is right. What I like to say this evening is this: is that the city of Newman is speaking, and you need to listen at them. We have petitions to back them up. starting off with at least 400 of them sitting right here now. The people, every door that we knocked on, are basically saying that we need this project for the jobs. It is really hard to understand why the people of Newman are not given that opportunity to come before you, or even a vote, before you make this resolution and downing this project for other complicated issues that they don't even know about. So I'm just saying, give the people of Newman the opportunity to voice their opinion before you send something that they don't know nothing about. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Hey, Tim.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Timothy Parker, 661 Balsam, formerly 1321 Corner Way, since 1991. As many of you know, I served this community in the capacity of a council member for about 6 years, and prior to that on the Planning Commission. We used to have something in this county called a vision. It was countywide. John, you may recall, and Bob, I know you recall. We used to meet with the county supervisors, the other 8 cities in this county, and we were going to have an entire vision for the entire county, and part of that included the Crow's Landing Air Force Strip. Somewhere that got lost. Somewhere the input from all of the cities and that collaborative effort sort of fell by the wayside. As people, we have an aversion, or we're afraid of change, and oftentimes change occurs in such a manner that we don't even notice that it's occurring. One of the things about the Air Force Strip, and we knew that was coming, was the parameters. The parameters were kind of set early, and they were set initially at the 1,500 acre mark. I think, and I don't want to speak out of place, but certainly this city council is supportive of economic development. It's something we talked about in our very town for years when you look at the industrial park. And at one point we thought maybe we had too much land dedicated for industrial area, but we've seen some progress there, and we've been very patient. To Mr. Lynch, when you talk about the job enhancement, I've been a commuter since I moved to this community in 1991. And I've seen what it does to families. We know how it impacts the schools, because what you have oftentimes are absentee parents. Kids are what was called, when I was growing up, latchkey kids. They put the key around their neck and they get themselves off to school in the morning, and at some point they let themselves at home in the evening. And so to that degree, I think economic development is good. I think where some of the nervousness comes in, and I applaud your comments, John, your opening statements. What is the good nature of it? I've seen a lot of politics thrown into this. When you talk about the community, I've been in this chamber here where it's been wall-to-wall people, 100 people, or we've moved it into other areas of our city because there's been an issue that everybody in the community has come out and spoke out on. This one is one that I don't think, when you speak of the community as a whole, the wherewithal and the knowledge of it, that what's really transpiring is really hit home yet. And so I commend the council for taking an opinionated stance, but I also add caution, because sometimes change is going to occur whether we like it to or not. It's a matter of how we're going to be a part of it. The one thing that I wanted to state, and some of my thoughts when it comes to the county, and having served on STANCOG, which is the Transportation Policy Committee, which Mike Lynch mentioned and talked about STIP funds, so that you know what those are. Those are improvement funds where you'll see sidewalk infill where there wasn't sidewalk before, or street resurfacing where your streets have potholes, or bicycle lanes where your street didn't have bicycle lanes before. So they're important funds to the city directly. We wouldn't want to have those funds diverted. So what am I saying? You're talking about intergovernmental agencies right now at a crossroad. So in other words, you have the city of Patterson, the city of Newman. We're at a crossroad with the county in certain areas, in certain issues. And what I would suggest is with the dialogue, with the West Park project, as it's been mentioned, with our city, with our neighboring city, Patterson, and with the county, is, you know, somehow we're gonna have to get back on point with the overall county visioning. That was something that I think we could have stayed with and avoided what's currently happening. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, John, when you talk about the tax, the personal tax, and I commend you and I commend this council, because I think it's something that we've all tried to stay above board with. But it makes you nervous. You know, there's been a lot of land grab going on in this city, in this county, and there's a lot of speculation going on. And it's something that I've said many times sitting behind this dais, and I'll say it again because it's a continuum. We live in California. This state is going to grow. People are coming here in droves, and it's a very attractive state. Anywhere you go in our city, an hour and a half north, you get to the snow. An hour and a half west, you're at the beautiful ocean. An hour and a half southeast, and you're in beautiful Yosemite. So we have it all here. And I will say to this point, though, once you cover up that agricultural land, that fertile land that can still feed the world, then where do we get our food? Jim Severa, may he rest in peace, a good man with a good heart, told me one day that we are going to be importing all of our food. And I couldn't imagine that. And I wouldn't want to imagine that, because food that comes in import doesn't have the same regulations that our food has. If you think you're talking about toys that are tainted, what happens when our food is tainted? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Further comments?
Mayor, City Councilman. My name is Angie Archibald, and I live on T Street. And I am also for the project, and I'll tell you why. When I moved into Newman, right on T Street, I could look out my door and I could see the mountains. And when it used to snow up in the mountains back here, it was beautiful. But I can't see anything out there anymore because houses were built. And houses are still being built. And the people that are coming in and buying the houses, a lot of them are Mexican people, and they don't have good jobs. And all the signatures that I got were from people that was, oh, great, jobs, gee, it's about time we have something here in Newman and in Crow's Landing so we can all have good jobs. And they're building houses, they're still building houses. And I think that we really need some place where people can work. And how they are going to, about the roads and everything else, nobody knows. The people that sign these petitions are only looking forward to maybe working there if they can. So I'm really hoping that you will let this process happen. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I'm John Schuler. I've been in appraisal business for about 60 years, not quite, but and also real estate, farming, and whatever. And I'd like to present a direction here. And excuse me. First of all, I should address you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So, but I've got something here that I'd like to distribute here that I've done a little work on just to try to emphasize what's happened in the past.
Thanks, John.
What we're up against.
Thank you.
John, I got two here.
Thank you, John.
So do I. I got two of them.
You got two.
I live in Crow's Landing, 22101 Morris Road. I've been in this community since 1942, and that makes you pretty old. I got here when I was about 9 years old. But anyway, so now you add it up. But, so, starting off here, as I said, I've done appraisal work in 5 states. That's California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and also Hawaii. And I think I know a little bit about the subject of what goes on in the world. But anyway, on with that, I spent 25 years with a farm credit system, and that's making loans to farmers and so forth, and commercial properties and all that. And I also sold real estate and been in farming. Okay, so why 4,800 acres? That's a hard number to deal with. And as you can see by my handout here, I worked on a project in Tracy, which started about, I think around 6-7 years ago, to try to sell a piece of property as industrial zone. And if you look at my map here, there's a total of, in this whole area in Tracy, there's about a total of 1,240 acres. And if anybody remembers where the Heinz Cannery is, that was built about 1948, someplace in there. But if you look at this map here, the area has only grown about a quarter mile to the east, and the rest of it is still open. Now they had phase 1 and 2, and there was about 400 acres in each phase. And if you look at the second page, I went up there the other day, Sunday, and spent some time there to review what has happened since the property that I worked on closed, which is about over 3 years ago. And overall, I mean, it's a very small amount of acreage that's been absorbed. And you've got to look at this situation of 4,800 acres. And you've got to look at the absorption rate. It would take 100 years, at least 100 years, to get that thing built out. And so my approach is, why have this large block of land? We've gone through a real estate bubble. Well, first of all, we went through a .com and so forth, and that was a bubble. Now we're in a housing bubble. Now we're getting into where the commercial real estate is also starting to go in a bubble. We've had all these wild ways of going, merger acquisitions and all this stuff, and equity funds and all that. I mean, we're wheeling and dealing and buying property all over the country and just throw the prices out of sight. And so that is going to come to a conclusion. Generally, the housing drops first, then the commercial property falls about 1 or 2 years later. So that's where we are as far as I can see it, as far as the economy is concerned. But as I say, this map here will show how long it's going to take to absorb 4,800 acres. And you've got projections in this thing here. I've got a projection I used to use it for training appraisers and even the credit. I weighed 8 pounds when I was born. At the end of the year, I weighed 24. And if you run the numbers, I would have weighed 6 tons when I started. So those are projections. And so I think what we have here is a tremendous projection of what's going to happen, the jobs you're going to create. And these are all projections. And I hate to use the word, I'm not trying to, pin or point at anybody, but the idea of figures don't lie, but liars figure. And I'm not accusing anybody of doing that, because as you say, I want to keep it up and up. So
I appreciate that.
And so, anyway, going on with this thing with the bonds, I'm just wondering, how much cost is being borne by the developer. My understanding, Mr. Camillos, or West Park or whatever it is, he doesn't build buildings. He just basically develops. And so who is going to take the ball and run with it? And my concern is we're going to spin this thing off. I don't think West Park will be around any more than 2 or 3 years till they get this entitled, get the bond money, and have this thing financed and subsidized, and then send it. You can start off with what he's doing right now. Okay, we got people going out here and getting options on this ground. And my understanding, the options are $50,000 an acre, whatever, and then on top of that, $300 an acre per year for the option. When you run the numbers on that, He's only gonna spend about $1 million per year to tie up this property. And then whatever his costs are for all these beautiful plans and the slick deals, then the point, you know, at what point is he gonna put money, his own money in it, and how much? Because I don't know what these numbers are. And it's a total mystery. It's like, you know, you ever try to or follow a tornado? You know, it's a little difficult. But anyway, I don't know all the numbers. And there's a hell of a lot of numbers out there that I don't have. I'd have to spend a hell of a lot more time I already have, but I'd be willing to do it.
Well, and we'll make that now available for you, but
Yeah.
if the mayor will let me have it.
No, we're not gonna get into a debate here.
No. Mr. Schuler?
Not the time or place for that. We're listening.
We'll try to,
public
try to
comment
cut it off.
public
I mean,
comment.
so we can have other,
And there are several things.
give other people a chance.
There are other areas for bond money and I-bonds and so forth that I think are probably more pressing than this. Because we don't have to expand this area to where we have, I don't know, a couple 100,000 people? I mean, it's not fair. I'll rest my case. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schuler. Keep your calendar open for November 26th on a Monday. We're having an Oristimba Creek meeting. You should get a notice on that. Another deal we're working on.
My name is Teresa Escobar. I lived in Crow's Landing for 23 years. I live at 16601 Crow's Landing Road. I am a member of West Pace. Tonight I would like to point out some of the negative aspects of West Park's project to the west side. Namely, I am concerned about its size, the traffic, and the effect it will have on our air quality. West Park highlights that this project is only 0.5% of the ag land in Stanislaus County. However, they neglect to state that the project will take over 3,300 acres of the west side's backyard. I have no issue with West Park. They are doing what the developers do. My issue is with the county supervisors who voted for it. The supervisors originally asked for plans for the 1,527-acre footprint of the Navy base. It would seem reasonable to assume that if a developer had come up with a 4,800-acre plan, that the supervisors would have passed on it, since it far exceeded what they were asking for. In fact, the Crow's Landing Steering Committee did just that. But now we are, I'm sorry, I lost my place. I'm not used to public speaking. But now we are talking about an industrial city bigger than Newman and Patterson combined. This project will benefit West Park, but tell me how and why building this humongous industrial site is an upgrade for the west side. Why not build it in Salida, near Mr. Grover's backyard, or Mr. Monteith's neighborhood? But neither of them would want it because of the traffic and air quality problems it would generate. Better to dump it on the west side again. According to West Park, the Central Valley's Inland Port Preliminary Traffic Circulation Master Plan, dated October 25, 2007, prepared by TJKM Transportation Consultants, there will be over 15,000 daily truck trips in and out of the project site that pencils out to one truck every 5.4 seconds. By West Park's own admission, that will only be 11% of the site's daily traffic. According to their master plan, Fink, Davis, Crow's Landing, Bell, Marshall, Stur Road, Ike Crow Road, West Main, Carpenter, and Highway 33 are just a few of the roads that they will need to structurally upgrade to withstand the heavy truck traffic and expand to 4 lanes. The cost will be astronomical, and the county just doesn't have the money to do it, as is evidenced by the state of our roads today. West Park believes the best selling points for the project is improved air quality and traffic. It will probably improve the Bay Area's traffic and air problems, but I'm wondering how a count of roughly 141,000 trips daily, also protected in West Park's master plan, is going to improve the air quality here on the west side. Our children's playground at Bonita will be next to a 4-lane freeway, with trucks continuously passing by every day. How could the Newman Crow's Landing School District not oppose this plan? Does anybody really think that the children living on the west side's health and quality of life will not be affected by this project? As we know, the Port of Oakland has chosen not to include West Park's inland port in its application for state funds. Now West Park needs StanCog money to support diverting $26 million of state bond money intended to replace diesel truck engines with cleaner technology for the inland port's infrastructure costs. If West Park has its way, fewer of those over 15,000 trucks coming into Crow's Landing every day will have been replaced with cleaner engines. It would stand to reason again that the West Side would lose. West Park will tell you that they can mitigate every one of the problems I've talked about. But does mitigating them make them non-existent, or does mitigating them create a state in which West Park can develop their project freely? Because of the traffic and air quality as well as the size of the project, I am asking the Newman City Council to continue to strongly to oppose this plan. And I'm asking you, Mr. Mayor, at tomorrow night's StanCog meeting to support all of us here on the West Side and vote not to allow StanCog to make an application to divert the state money to West Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Uh-oh.
My name's Nancy Hinton. I've been involved at the meeting since these have begun back over a year ago when we've sat in the meetings that the Board of Supervisors to vote on and like that. And I've kind of gone both ways as far as what's best. And I've done some research and gone back to some of the original plans. And Mr. Lynch mentioned that the other plan had 6,000 acres in it. People are forgetting about that. It wasn't immediate, but it was there at the end. Just like this one is starting out in phases, because we've gone to a couple of the meetings that Mr. Camilos has started and done for the community. And they're in phases also. So we're talking about 48, 100 acres, or yeah, and to 6,000 acres when the plan is in completion. We need jobs here. We need parents that are able to stay home and raise their kids. Last year I lost a very close friend of mine who commuted from this side of town in a car accident, taking their child who decided to go to work over where she works and running late because of different things going on. She was killed. She was a resident of the West Side who had to commute out of here. It's a rarity, I understand that, and I understand the concerns, but apples to apples, oranges to oranges. It's been said many times, and I agreed with everything because I didn't go back and do the research, and then I did. The other plan also went over the 1,500 acres. And that's been something that's been said over and over. The other plan, when there's flyers out from the organization where it shows the rail cars. Though that picture is in Hillwood's plan for the Board of Supervisors. It was in their original plan that went to Mr. DeMartini and the other Board of Supervisors. And I have to applaud Mr. DeMartini to standing firm for what his constituents, some of them have said, and to go against what the others, have stated. But I think we need to look at it honestly and realize that both sides have gone over the footprint. Both sides want the light rail. One side has homes. They do. You need to go in and look, because I saw your look just now, and it shocked me too. But it's there. It's got container cars and everything lined up as one of their goals. And so there's there's some things that have fallen on the wayside, and I think we just need to be aware. I am surprised that the resolution would be voted on before the people had a chance to speak. I'm more involved in Stanislaus County things and over in Modesto, and as a citizen in Stanislaus County and going to the city council I mentioned there, you know, it seems like the council votes on things before giving the people an opportunity to speak. And I was kind of disappointed that you guys voted, even though I know this is a heartfelt thing that, you know, probably nobody was going to persuade you one way or the other, but still to let the people speak to you as our representatives before taking a vote. But I know this is something that's been, you know, going on for quite a while, but that's what tonight was, you know, discussion on the resolution.
Ma'am, what was your address? I'm sorry.
4149 East Orangeburg, Modesto.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, Ed Maring, Patterson, 1536 Frank Cox Road. I farmed in the west side.
Excuse me.
Kent.
I farmed in the west side for 40 years, and I was just happening to notice your city of Newman agriculture and dairy. Well, if this project goes forward, you're going to have to make some changes there. It bothers me a whole lot that we're so willing to give up our agricultural heritage. The world is changing, and the world's changing fast. And we need this agricultural land. It's the national treasure. You know, a project like this can be put in many places, but you can't move that farm to other areas because God only put that soil in that place for us to use, and to abuse it by covering it up with commercial is absolutely against our national interest. I mean, it's just, as you know, the world's changing, like I mentioned. And there's many things about this project that really bother me, particularly the infrastructure. The history of these projects is they never pay their way. And if the proper fees were applied to this project, I'm sure that those jobs, the fees would be so high that the jobs would never justify the end. And I can only speak a little bit I know about it. Is I'm president of the Del Porto Health Care District, and you know, we'd all love to have a hospital here in the west side and to bring Newman and Patterson together. But at this time, you know, right now it costs $1.5 million to $2 million a bed to build a hospital, and you know, that's just beyond the realm of ability. And those fees should be applied to this project. Healthcare many times gets left behind. It's especially, you know, we think of schools and fire and police, but healthcare is very important. One of the first things when an industrial company comes to a city, they'll ask, well, what kind of healthcare do you have? Well, I have to admit that probably Patterson and Newman, you know, we don't really have the right answer for that. And so I'll leave that go, but I just think that it's just the wrong project in the wrong time. And that one more thing, and I'll get out of your way here, but these railroad bond money, that requires matching funds. It's part of the act, part of the bond issue. And where are these matching funds going to come from? And I understand, Regan, in the Modesto B, that now the county's considering putting up the air base land to match, for matching funds. Well, it was told us by the supervisors that they were going to maintain the ownership of the property. And when you put up these matching funds, I mean, you're encumbering that property. So therefore, you know, the supervisors, the county doesn't have first call on anymore. So there's so many things here going on that is just not right about the whole project. And so I would hope that that Newman tomorrow night at Stancog would vote against the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council meeting members. My name is Beverly Sandiford, and I do live here in Newman. I'm a new resident, and I love the town. And I've been happy since I've been here for the past 5 years. But I would like to see this project go forward. I wasn't aware of it until recently, so I don't have a lot of background information. But I do have a few key points that I'd like to go over. And the main point for myself personally is that I'm a single person. I'm 45 years old, so I'm not getting younger. And I commute 200 miles a day to go to work. And if jobs were in the area available, I would not have to spend 5 hours out of a day commuting to go to work. And I think with having the jobs available through this project, it's going to be a huge, tremendous, possible, it's going to be a great thing for people. Our students who are in the area, growing up in Newman, I don't have kids personally, but I love them. I have the neighborhood kids that live around me. And I'm thinking about these kids when they get out of high school, if they're not able to go on and continue their education and go to college, you know, what would be available in the immediate area for them to have resources for employment. So I'm looking at the job stability behind the project. And I realize that change is something that we all don't want sometimes, but change is good. God wants us all to prosper. And I just want to cover it. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I just want to let you know, and my address is 1204 Walnut Creek Drive, Newman, California, 95360. I just have 10 key points here. It's going to help the agriculture industry stay competitive in a global market by reducing shipping costs and time. At full build out, West Park eliminates diesel emissions by 12,000 daily trips from Crow's Landing to the Port of Oakland. This is a significant reduction. Reduces congestion and loss of time for thousands of commuters like myself by removing significant trucks and traffic on the commute freeways, while bringing thousands of jobs to the residents. In fact, West Park is willing to put restrictions in development agreements. We do have enough houses and not enough jobs. The fifth point was only public funding for this project would come from the post-access state bonds approved by the voters of Stanislaus County. County funds or county funds from any city within the county have been requested for the project. Crow's Landing is perfect location in center of I-5 and Highway 33 corridor. It links by rails and highways and has built-in physical advantages like the abandoned runway, which is strong enough to serve as a foundation for track requirements for intermodal operation, thus saving millions of dollars. West Park size, the 48,000 acres allow for the economic of scales. It also guarantees that major industrial developers will not face conflicts for others, non-compatible use. It permits serious consideration of created transit alternatives for the workforce, clean energy buses for workers within the park, and for workers coming to and leaving work. This is the first project in Stanislaus County that has 100% immediate migration for every acre of agricultural land lost to the industrial or other use. It also provides for creation of job training and retraining center. This, I think, is very important, that people get trained in job skills that will enable them to be better in the community. Train Ease, one of their courses, or when their courses are completed, they'll have a chance to work at the businesses. Short train and short rails and dedication short haul simply means that trains will be limited to 50 cars. They will go to and return from the Port of Oakland only. No stops along the way. At a full build out, there will be 6 trains, 12 passes. I'm just would like to emphasize again that a lot of us do commute, and I'm going to be here until God takes me away. I'm not planning on leaving Newman, so I'm in this area for the long haul, but I would really like to see this project go forward because we need prosperity, we need jobs, and we need to have our children with a future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jesus Alonso. I live here in Newman, 701 Barrington Avenue. I wish that the city of Newman would have offered the opportunity, or would have given the opportunity to these residents to express their opinions. I was in favor of the project for the fact that I have lived here 3 years. I commuted 2.5 years. When I moved to Newman, I had about $30,000 in the bank, 2 new vehicles. Now, I don't have my $30,000. I have 2 old vehicles, my new home. Yes, I like Newman. It's very nice. It's a very nice place. And when I think about the future of my kids that goes to your school, my main concern is what's going to happen when my kids grow up. I hope that my kids have a future, not the one I have now of having to commute to the Bay Area to get a good job, but so that they can work here in the area. Sometimes I feel like I made an error moving to Newman. You know, that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you. Further comments?
Good evening, Council. My name is Mayor and Stephen, Michael. My name is Dave Silvera. I'm a lifelong resident of Newman. I've been reading the newspapers and watching the Board of Supervisors and some of the decisions they've made over the past years. And I just read them and shake my head and go off to work, and the next morning I read the paper again and I continue to see what I think sometimes are decisions that really don't make sense. And this one here tops them all. And that's why I came out tonight. I usually don't come to meetings. I'm going to back up a little bit because I've seen what the Newman City Council has done nice things for our town. You have made it so nice that people like to come here and they love to live here, and they want their families to live here, and they want them to grow up here and go to schools, and for them to probably get married here and have more children here, and that's all good. My children, I was born and raised here. My children went to school here. My children decided that they needed to go somewhere else to find a job, you know, and I didn't stop them. They didn't want to be right next to me all the time, you know. They wanted, Mom. I got a son that works in Santa Clara and lives over there, and I have a daughter that lives in Sacramento, and she loves it over there. There's so much to do. They're city people, born in the country, love the city. I respect them for that, and they respect me for not making them stay here. you know, it's wonderful to think that your kids are going to be at your side for the rest of your life. But that's a dream, because they all have their other wishes that they want to do. Getting back to what the Newman City Council has done, you've made this town, you've made good decisions on keeping it historical. It's very attractive. I do think that you have to think about the other aspect of our historical community, not that alone, but we're an agricultural community. Have been, it never was a city that became agricultural. It's always been agricultural. Do we want to lose that? Do we want this monstrosity next door that's just going to multiply and multiply and multiply? And once you say yes, there's no turning back. It's all going to be grander, and it's going to look better, and more people are going to come, more houses are going to be built, and more children to the schools, and I just hate to see that. I mean, when you drive through, I've been here all my life. I'm used to the fields and the orchards and the bees and everything that's natural, okay? The more cars we see, the more trucks we see, trains, everything like that is not natural to our agricultural community. It's very simple if you boil it down to that. I don't like to pick on anybody, and I won't, but the developers are in a job to develop, and they will develop wherever they see an opportunity. Our Board of Supervisors has allowed them to take what was once a 1,500-acre parcel and expand on that to this giant monstrosity out there, which I wouldn't be opposed to the 1,500 acres because it was an air base at one time. It's still not going to be, I mean, it'll still be more people than was out there, but I would like just for you to go back to what, think about where we are, where we've been with our agricultural community, our historical community, how well we've done with that, and not make a monstrosity out of the west side. And I have a lot more to say, but right now this is all I can say, and I wish that you would unanimously vote to oppose this proposal, and in the size that it is, and protect, along with Patterson and all the other small communities in the valley, to protect what we have. Don't let the developers come in and take over. They're just too used to that. That's been happening way longer than it should. We should be proud of what we have. It's something that we need to maintain and keep healthy, the agriculture. And I ask you to think about all that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Further comments? Comments from the council then?
I'd like to make a comment. One thing that people keep saying is that we're opposed to jobs. That's absolutely incorrect. We're elected officials as the city council. Patterson has elected official city council. There's school boards. There's people that voted for us. One of the charges as a public official is to make sure that we try to be progressive. But in doing that, we also have to set forth a responsibility that when we do that, that is a good project, that we've looked at it, we've taken our time, and not just run out here because somebody's dangling a carrot says there's 37,000 jobs out there. People can say a lot of things. Reality is something else. So we're going to take our time, and it's obvious that we don't like the direction this is going. We're not opposed to jobs. We're not opposed to developing the air base, but we're opposed to this proposal right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I'd like to comment. I think, and what I keep hearing from everybody who's come up and spoke to us, and what we've heard for years and years and years, and I welcome everybody who has come to Newman, but I think you got to ask yourself, why did you come here? Why did you come to Newman? It's a nice, quiet community. It's a small community. You want to get out of the city. You want to get to affordable housing. You want to come to a town that's attractive. You made that choice to come here because of the qualities we offer. in our city. I think the council in the past has been very diligent in controlling growth and making sure that quality of life remains. I think councils have done that over the years. Councils after us will continue to do that. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard Tim Parker talk about our community, and he's been an advocate of our community and what a great community it is. We do have a lot to offer. I too have raised my two children. One has flown the coop and moved to Vacaville, and my other one has stayed here locally. She's a school teacher. She went out of town to get a job. She's come back to Newman. Now she teaches in our local district. It's all about choices. We as a council do listen to what our constituents say. But I think we're charged with maintaining the integrity of our community. We like the small fill. We like the small size. I agree. Jobs are high-paying jobs are not in this valley. Those of you who've moved here from the Bay Area where there's high-paying jobs, you've come here for a purpose and for a reason. It's quality of life, affordable housing. The way that the economy is, it's up and down. Right now, it's down. And if you're a buyer, go out and buy as many houses as you can, because it's going to go back up sooner or later. But I still think the integrity of our community is we want to keep it, relatively. I'm not saying in the dark ages. We've grown quite a bit. I came to this town as 2,100 people when I moved here in 1979. And now we're about 11,000. So we've had significant growth, but I think we've been able to maintain that, as Tim says, small town charm. And we have a beautiful downtown. We have a good school district that's struggling as well. And I agree with Councilman Crinklaw. I'm not against jobs. We need jobs. But the impact of this project would be so overwhelming if it goes through that people down the road are going to say, what were they thinking? What were they thinking? So with that, I appreciate your comments, but I just ask you to think of why you came and moved to Newman. Thanks.
Take it. Bob?
I just say that what you heard tonight, I feel very adamant about. I think it's really important that what we do up here, we get it right. We don't want to make a mistake and then 10, 20 years from now say, oh my God, what do we do? You can look around this town and see we've made mistakes, and people have made mistakes before us. But you want to be very cautious about what you do with this community. It's very fragile. It's a beautiful community. We live here because it is what it is. If we change this community, it's not going to be something you like. It's not going to be something you love. I came here from Fresno, California, and believe me, I'll never go back. But this is a wonderful town. It's rare that you find anything like this in the world. We're going to protect it, and we're going to keep it like it is. We'll have controlled growth. We'll get jobs. We'll get the right kind of jobs, and this will be one beautiful community. And thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Ted?
Well, I moved here like most of you for the same reason. I fell in love with the little town. And the way I see it, our job up here is to protect that town and the whole way of life that's here. For you commuters, I feel for you. I did that myself from Danville down to San Jose for years. I did it. I don't have to do it now. I'm pretty lucky that way. I can cover this area. But I'll tell you right now, and I'll make this statement, you will never be paid what you're being paid in the Silicon Valley. If you think you are, I'll tell you, I'll throw this out to you guys. Make this a union shop. Every job up in that site, a union job. Other than that, Mike, you'll never be able to pay, never will. It doesn't take a brain scientist to figure out that if you're going to, a company over in the Silicon Valley is paying, and that's why we all commuted over there. They're paying that amount. You come over here, you buy a nice home, and it's a safe, beautiful community. Now, somebody goes to them. No, I know, Mike, I know. But what I'm getting at is when that company, somebody goes to them and says, well, hey, you guys can come over here. We're going to give you tax breaks. We're going to give you this land. We're going to do all that. Well, why are they listening? They're listening because why? Because then they know that the labor cost, that's all they're coming over here for, the labor cost. They don't have to pay what they're doing over there. And if you think now by bringing those jobs over here that they're going to be paying the same thing they are in Silicon Valley, I'll guarantee you. I'll give you $100. That's all I got after the wedding that I just paid for. And not that I know some of you are really adamant about this, and I'm with you. But that bothers me more because they keep throwing these numbers out, 37,000 jobs. And it's great. But I'll tell you what, you're going to be making minimum wage. They're not going to give you benefits. If they do, it's going to be terrible benefits. So basically, you and I in this room here are going to end up with our taxes going for housing, health care, and education. We're going to be educating, housing all those people that are going to be making minimum wage. Where are they going to buy a house in this valley? You show me. Somebody on, I don't care, it's 2. Well, what you're getting now is 3 or 4 families in a house. And that's the only way they're surviving. So, when I hear this 37,000, I just cringe. It just irritates me. And anyway, that's all I have to say. I love this town, and I'm going to do everything I can to protect it. So, I'm sorry. I don't like that.
Thanks, Ted. Obviously, I think my thoughts were covered earlier. I agree with my counsel that, we're not opposed to jobs. It just needs to be done right. And as regarding the Stancock vote tomorrow night, I obviously will vote with my counsel. And since I am the Stancock chair, I will be calling for a roll call vote of all the members to make sure it's done properly. So, further comments, questions? Any other comments about the vote tomorrow night, or?
Mayor, and
Go ahead, Mike.
this is item 10C for the public. There was a review and direction regarding Stancock policy board vote, and the mayor has just stated the position he's going to vote on that. At the request of the council in the past, I did provide the rest of the council, Mayor, a copy of the resolution that is going before the Stancock. As part of the Stancock process, the city managers of the cities and the chief executive officer serve as a technical advisory committee or a TAC committee. In which case, at our meeting on November 1st, the city manager of Patterson and myself brought this resolution to the attention of the other cities. It wasn't available to us, so Stancock staff went and got it and presented it to them. We made some changes in there. Even though the cities of Patterson and Newman knew that the other cities were going to pass it, and we were able to get a few things in there. And some of them are just redundant. The fourth whereas just kind of recognizes and acknowledges the environmental impacts from short haul rail will require review and analysis. That's just redundant with CEQA and possibly in the NEPA process. In the seventh whereas, they talk about a rail transportation link between Crow's Landing and the San Francisco Bay Area. It used to say will reduce a significant number of trucks and automobiles on freeways in the East Bay Area and over Altamont, and will provide critically needed congestion relief and air quality improvements. We argue that they can't, that's not proven that they will, so we asked that may be brought in there. And so they did that. And again, these are just minor changes, but we felt they were necessary. On the last whereas, they identified who the developer was at that particular point in time. We just indicated that it's probably better off if they just identified as the developer candidate, and the developer was there. He didn't have any obligation with that. But the important part was we also wanted to make sure that they included wording that says Stancock capital funds will not be obligated. That's part of that, and that's important to us. And then lastly, as the Stancock resolves as follows, they did 3 things. But the third one, we wanted to make it absolutely clear that Stancock staff participation is limited to the development, preparation, presentation, and submission of the application. We didn't want Stancock staff working on this county project. When we, as the city of Newman, have some very important projects and STANCOG staff is limited right now, and we're falling behind on our project because STANCOG its staffing levels are at a minimum. So I wanted to share this resolution with you to see if you had any comments. I will also be in attendance at the STANCOG meeting tomorrow night and just echo with the resolutions that you passed and in any other direction that you want. So if you want, do you want to? It's up to you whether you want to take direction on this. You've heard, you have a letter going out to the Board of Supervisors. You have a joint resolution that's already opposing it. I don't know if you feel it's necessary to take a vote on this and do direction on this one as well. So that's up to you as a council.
What does my fellow council members think? I mean,
I would be in favor of sending a resolution as written.
this is the resolution that's going to be for the whole board tomorrow night.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're gonna ask that we're still gonna ask as my comments to the STANCOG policy board was the city of Newman still opposes this resolution, even with the changes.
Okay.
Unless I hear different from the council.
Yeah, this is a copy that every board member of STANCOG got in their
Right.
packet.
Okay.
Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
That were opposed. Okay.
Right.
You want a roll call?
Pardon me?
Did you want a roll call vote?
Right now?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I met tomorrow night at the
Oh,
STANCOG
okay.
meeting. I was
He's gonna
gonna-
ask for
I'm
a
gonna
roll
call
call
for a
vote
roll
tomorrow
call
night.
vote,
Oh, okay.
you know, so everybody, it's easier to keep track of. And what-
Support other than Patterson on the resolution, no vote?
At the technical advisory committee, no. At the technical advisory committees, it was only cities of Patterson and Newman that voted no. The city of Riverbank abstained from voting.
Citizen advisory voted 7-0, but there's no one is there anyone from the west side on that committee?
There is. They were absent that day, though.
Why did Riverbank abstain?
A city manager wasn't there, so
Oh, okay.
I can only assume that.
Oh, nobody was there.
No, somebody was there.
Oh,
It just-
somebody
it
was
just
there.
wasn't
Okay.
Rich.
Oh, I see, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready to move on, or?
Let's go, we have clear direction.
Okay. Let's take a 5-minute recess.
Hey, Mike. Mike, hey.
Okay.
Hey, Jimmy.
Keep it going.
Okay, we're gonna get our meeting. I need one of those horns.
Bob Martini to the front desk, please. Bob Martini to the front desk.
That's true. Okay, moving on to item D. Adopt resolution number 2007, next to number, authorizing the city manager initiating Proposition 218 proceedings and to execute an agreement with the MBS for Proposition 218 noticing process.
Thank you, Mayor. At our last meeting, we reviewed the water rate study and did a presentation for that study to the council. Since then, staff has done some research on what is required for us to raise our water and sewer rates. With that, we are, in recent court cases, we are now subject to Proposition 218. And so with that, we would like to enlist the services of NBS. As you may recall, NBS does our landscaping lighting district assessments for us. They are also specialists in the Prop 218 procedures. So with that, they would look through and prepare a mailing list of the affected properties and utility users. They would put that and utilizing city and county assessment rolls, because you have to send a notice to both the user and the owner. So we don't have exactly all the information and done in a format that makes it readily easy for us to send out these mailers. So they're going to do that. They're also going to prepare the notice in a final form for mailing and printing and mailing, and then get that all ready for us. So with that, there's a cost of approximately $6,000. This is an unbudgeted expense that we are asking you to to move forward with, and then there's some anticipated out-of-pocket expenses that we would be responsible from an NBS perspective. They anticipate that would be pretty minimal. So with that, city staff will do the actual mailing themselves. We already have paid staff that can stuff the envelopes and get the mail on there. So there'll be additional cost for postage that goes with that. So with that, we're asking you to approve this resolution authorizing the city manager, excuse me, to initiate the Prop 218 proceedings and to execute an agreement with MBS for the Proposition 218 noticing progress.
So in other words, Michael, there's going to be more mailings because homeowners and renters, even if they don't own, they still will get notices.
Both have to get
homeowner
notices.
that like has a rental that lives somewhere else.
Property owners
property
and
owner.
utility users both have to get copies of that. So you have to combine the county assessments rolls with the city's utility users, cross-reference those. There has to be a parcel number and an address on there. So.
Okay. Any questions? If not, some direction.
I move for adoption.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item E, award bid for classification and compensation study for miscellaneous and management employees.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Tonight, I'm here to recommend that the council award the bid for the classification and compensation study. The classification and compensation study will ensure that job titles and duties are properly defined and that the city's compensation packages are competitive with comparable cities. Besides the cost of the project, both companies are close in comparison. We only received back 2 bid proposals, one from CPS, which submitted a cost not to exceed $30,231, and the other one was Coffin Associates, and their cost was not to exceed $21,500. So staff is recommending that we award the bid to Coffin Associates. By awarding the bid to Coffin Associates, the fiscal impact would be $21,500, of which $15,000 is already budgeted. So we would need an additional $6,500 augmented for the budget. Does anybody have any questions?
So you know how many years ago it was that the city did this last time?
I'm not sure. Michael, do you know? or if they've ever done it before?
It's been done before.
Yeah, it's been done, but it was done back when Margaret Souza was here, so that's at least 4 to 5 years, and there's probably a couple years before she was here. So I'm anticipating late 90s.
So but that included all departments.
That's correct.
And this one will not include law enforcement?
Does not include law enforcement. We are going down a different path with law enforcement, the POA, at this point in time.
We always go down a different path with POA. How come?
They're a different breed.
This is true. This is true.
Okay. Nothing personal, Chief. Just right. They get special treatment.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You get special treatment, all right.
Any other questions?
I just one quick one. Can I ask why we need to do this now? I mean, what brought it to where it is?
Part of our the miscellaneous employees are in the last year of their contract. So at this point in time, where we began our negotiations last year, were far from close. So part of our negotiations with them were that we would do a total compensation study, because we have very good benefits to our employees. So we need to look at what the total compensation that our employees are getting at this point in time, and making sure they're still competitive with other communities out there. And so that way we can negotiate a multi-year contract with our miscellaneous employees. Also because we also included management in this particular point in time. As you know, when we were doing the police chief search, we started at 1. I came back to the council and asked for additional funds. But, you know, we still want to see where we stand with comparable to other cities. That doesn't mean the council has to go in that particular direction, but I think it's a good move for the city to understand where we stand in total compensation package, not just salary, total compensation package, when compared to other cities our size and within our area. Especially if we're going to go into a multi-year contract with miscellaneous.
Further questions? Not direction?
I make a motion that we award a bid to the, who is it? Excuse me.
Cough and Associates.
Cough and Associates for 21. I think it's an excellent idea. It gives you bargaining strength.
Yes.
Ooh.
I mean, people going to, you know, if you're thinking about leaving a job because you're not making enough money, hey, throw in the benefits. Let's see what you're actually making. So I think it's an excellent idea.
Employee.
He was in
I was
San
still a
Jose
child.
commuting. He was a child.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia.
Item F, consider reappointment of Kern Honeywell to Turlock Mosquito Abatement District. We received a letter from...
Yeah, Kern's out of town right now. We did receive confirmation from him through a personal correspondence that he's still interested in serving on that. Kern has served in this capacity since 1986, 21 years.
Well, if we're going to make an appointment, I think the appointee should be here personally. And since he's my cousin and called for my impeachment in my first city council meeting, I think we should personally have Kern Honeywell here to accept his appointment at the next council meeting.
So you're saying if he wants to be reappointed, he must show up?
That's right.
Face music.
Does this really pay $150,000 a year?
Tell them to bring cookies and help to him.
We will go by whatever you want to do, Mike, since
No,
it's your cousin.
I would like to nominate and consider Kern Honeywell for another 4-year term in the Turlock Mosquito Abatement Board.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item G, adopt resolution number 2007, next to number. A resolution requesting an extension of employment per government code section 21221H.
Thank you, Mayor. As much as it pains me, I'm going to try to give a riveting report right now.
Make it
As
short.
you know, we've tried, we've gone through 2 recruitments to replace our retired police chief, and we've been unsuccessful at this particular point in time. Even though we did send out a letter, a conditional offer at the highest salary that was allowed by the council, that was still denied. CalPERS, California Government Code, only allows a retiree to work with another PERS agency for a limit of 960 hours in any fiscal year. Our new fiscal year began on July 1st. So our current chief, Ulibarri, right now is scheduled to terminate at 960 hours around the middle of January. At this point in time, we would like to ask CalPERS for an extension to allow us to continue to utilize his services for the maximum amount under California Government Code, and that's 12 consecutive months. That would put him here towards April 30th. And if the council so desires, then at the next meeting, I'll come back with a anticipated schedule for a third recruitment and what our possibilities are. I think going through and what you just authorized us to do with the classification and compensation study is going to help that as well. So then you will have a good gauge on where we need to be competitive at that position. So we can advertise at one rate for what you currently approved and then put something on there as well. So, but again, Chief Ulibarri has done an excellent job with the Newman Police Department. As you know, we're up at full staffing levels. We have people waiting to be Newman police officers. In fact, one of our reserves, they were trying to recruit him to series, and he said, no, I'm waiting for Newman to give me a job opportunity because they were the first one that came through that. So I think Chief Ulibarri has done an excellent job in bringing up the morale in the department. I think he's well received by the community, well received by staff, and hopefully well received by this council as well. So
Does he want to stay?
That's a good point.
Yes, I'd love to. Well, I would concur. I think, Chief, you've done an excellent job, and I would hope that PERS would allow us to keep you. But by the same token, I think it's imperative that we go out again, and whether it be January or February or whatever, and try to get somebody on board on a full-time, permanent basis before his time runs out again. Although we enjoy having him, but he is retired, and I'm sure he'd like to take his gun on more walks. So I concur. I think, Chief, you've done an excellent job, and I've certainly enjoyed having you here. But by the same token, I think we need to get on with business, and so if PERS will allow us to keep the chief extended period of time, I certainly hope they do, but would like us to start the process and see what's out there. So with that, I'd like to move to adopt resolution number 2007, next in number, a resolution requesting an extension of employment per Government Code Section 21221H.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Chief, you're doing a fine job. But does Gustine have any more officers left? Or we tapped. Oh. Well, I'm getting some heat from the council, as I'm sure Ed is down there. Boy,
Well, my office has been providing services for them for a while, but they're out now. I think they're back on their own feet.
Oh. Okay, good. Item H, report from our county supervisor, Jim DiMartini. It's on there.
Is it on there?
I always write it on there, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Fantasia, council members. Yeah, when you said that, I looked down there and
I always fool you on that deal.
Here. I'm just going to talk about the West Side Healthcare Task Force tonight. There's a lot I could say about the COG policy meeting tomorrow on the West Park development, but that vote is coming up tomorrow, and I'll make my remarks at that time. I don't want the newspaper to say I'm biased.
Plus, I don't have to 3-minute deal. So.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm going to leave that alone for tonight. Briefly, I would like to mention the West Side Healthcare Task Force. It met last week in Patterson. Our next meeting is scheduled for February and the things that we're gathering for the doctors and who they are and where they're at is information that just has never been put together before. And so there's been a lot of time by our task force to gather those statistics and put them together. So it's taken a little bit longer than we thought. We will be completely finished the next time with that. Have our proposed flyer ready to go. And then we will continue on. This is a long process now. I don't want anybody to think that we can build medical facilities and do this overnight. That we've been meeting, probably the next meeting, I bet close to a year. And we've come a long ways, but we have a long ways to go. So I appreciate the cities of Newman, Patterson, and Gustine working together along with the two healthcare districts. Sutter Gould has joined our ranks this time, and they will permanently have somebody on. We had some trouble with them wanting to send somebody every time, but now they have agreed to do it. And Golden Valley is also sends representatives. With the 3 cities, 2 healthcare districts, and all the entities that are providing healthcare services, everybody now is at the table. So with a group like that, we will come up with some good recommendations into the future to provide better access to health care on the west side. Okay, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Jim. Item 11, items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor. At our Planning Commission meeting this coming Thursday, we have a new ordinance that we're running by them as part of the new Title V, which is our zoning ordinance. What it would do is it would take the site plan review process, which is currently done at a staff level, and take that to the Planning Commission level. We think by taking it to the Planning Commission level, it gives it more structure, gives an opportunity for the Planning Commission to become more involved in commercial, industrial, and large multifamily residential projects, and seeing those projects and how they're laid out. It also provides the applicant an opportunity to address the Planning Commission, and if they're not happy with their decision, they can forward that to the City Council. Currently, it's at a staff level, and we just think it would be more professional to bring it up there. So, with that, we're hoping that they have a positive recommendation for you, and that we will be bringing that to your November 27th meeting as a possible ordinance and first introduction. Our Risk Management Association comes around every 5 years or so, and what they do is they do an analysis of each of the departments, making sure that you have the correct fire extinguishers on the wall, Band-Aids in the first aid kits, and those types of things. So we'll be going through ours, I believe, this Thursday. This Thursday we'll be doing ours. RMA will be here for a complete day, looking at all the different departments and city vehicles and those types of things. I want to thank the council for approval of the compensation study. I think this is a really valuable tool as we go into negotiations for a multi-year contract extension with the miscellaneous employees. I think when we look at a full compensation package, the city of Newman is very generous and very competitive with other cities around here. So I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at what those results are. So that's a testament to this council, and looking at some of the, it may not always be the cash considerations, but you offer a very good health plan, you offer a very good retirement. So.
Mike, quick question on that. Do they also include in that the housing, the loans that we?
That's, I guess, a good question. On Friday, we had preset this up. The consultant will be traveling through the area. He's going to stop by, and we're going to have some preliminary conversations with him. We still need to talk about which cities we're going to compare ourselves to, which is a very important aspect of it. Choice of the cities that you're comparable to. Some people like to compare us to Livermore and Danville. That's,
good luck.
That's not real competitive. So we'll come back and we'll throw in some good ones. Turlock will be in there, but Gustine will be in there also. Livingston.
Conversely, Mike, and I think it's important because in the past, years past, when we've done surveys, they threw in towns like Dos Palace and towns like Fireball, and I can tell you, those towns are just no comparison to ours in terms of, one, population, two, the the type of city that we live in, and we talk about employment and law enforcement services, et cetera. So I think we need to be cautious. Again, we can't compare ourselves to, a Dublin or Danville, but conversely, we can't compare ourselves to a Doss Palace or Fireball. And
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned one of those communities, Fireball. Obviously that's the town I grew up in.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
I grew up in Doss Palace.
I know.
So, yeah.
But but when
Better a falcon or bronco than an eagle, wherever they're
some of the
called.
things that I'm looking at is you look at population, you look at location, and you look at sales tax. Fireball generates considerable amount more sales tax than Newman does, and that's because of West Side Ford, and that's because of their John Deere dealership. They generate over $800,000 a year in sales tax, where the city of Newman generates just over $500,000 a year in sales tax, and they have a smaller community. So, while I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying Fireball is going to be in here, but those are the type of things that I'm looking at when I start negotiating with the unions on which city we're going to use. Let's base it on fact. There's geographical location. We can't really do Manteca. They're an employment center. We're more consistent with Fireball than we are some of the other communities. They're on Highway 33, we're on Highway 33. They're off of I-5, we're off of I-5. So there are characteristics that we're going to try to use to define which cities that we use, and that's a very important part of it. And so we'll negotiate that out with the unions on there. So, but there'll be some above us and there'll be some below us. So with
Wesley.
that, well,
And I think we can look at who we're losing people, who we have lost people to, and obviously we know we can't compete with a Turlock, Manteca, Tracy, Modesto, but I think it's imperative that our compensation packages are attractive enough to keep personnel, and there's other issues that need to go along with that as well.
Sure. With that, I was at the Newman Crows Landing School District Board, school board meeting last week, talked to them about the resolution, asked them to consider it. That I do anticipate that resolution that you adopted tonight, the joint resolution opposing West Park, will go back. Or it's not West Park, it's Crows Landing Air Base, excuse me. We'll go back to them, and I'll be there again to tout the city's position on that. This coming Monday is the third Monday of the month, so we have a 2-on-2 meeting for Councilmember Martina and Councilmember Kelly, just a reminder on that. And I will be mailing this letter off to the Board of Supervisors, unless directed otherwise. That's how the correspondence will be met. The other way is if you wanted me to actually go to a meeting and read it into the record. So.
I would like you to read it into record.
I think it would be good. I think
it'd be more effective.
Okay. So at the next Board of Supervisors meeting, I will be in attendance at the public participation, non-agenda items, and we'll read this letter into the record at that point in time. I will still mail it in advance to them. So with that, that's the only items that I had right now.
Thank you, Mike. Other staff reports? Guys, wake up back there.
Throwing in another disc.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I just have a little bit of show and tell. This is where we had the overlay projects done on L Street. This section, you'll notice that the fabric over the street surface, and that's to prevent that section of street had a lot of cracking and alligatoring, and if you don't, those tend to work their way up to the surface, so right away you lose the new surface. And this fabric that you place over it prevents that, keeps that to a minimum. So I just wanted to show that. The next picture, that just shows the tack coat so that the new surface will adhere to the existing. There just shows some of the windrows that they're putting down. And again, this is over close to Kern Street. And then Here's the finished product. They're putting down the center lines. As you notice, they've already put in the new bike lanes on there. And here, that's where they've completed it, so it's a nice brand new street. Next picture, this is where we had the problem at Hidden Canyon Way with that stormwater and that runoff that just wouldn't drain out of there. Here's where we removed the section of sidewalk and curb. And these are the workers who are taking out some of the leveling after taking out down the tree roots that caused the problem. And that shows them finishing off the concrete. And then voila, no more water left there at Lake Kelly. I mean, at Hidden Canyon Way. Have you got any other questions?
Again, my compliments on that, Ern. You and Doug, excellent
Ernie,
job.
I gotta tell you, the striping really looks good. It really brightens up the whole area. Just driving down the streets, and
Looks really different.
it really made a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thanks, Ernie.
The only problem, I was on those streets this weekend. The overlay is really nice, but now the people are driving faster because the street's nicer. So keep an eye on that, Chief.
Yeah, no, it's here.
From one to the other, huh? Next.
Don't worry, Randy, I'll give you plenty of time.
Jeez.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I just wanted to let you know we currently have 180 basketball participants signed up, and we still have some spots available in all divisions. And I'm actually looking pretty good on coaches this year. I'm not having to beg too much. Some questions?
Good. How did the soccer turn out there?
Pretty successful. I don't know. How'd your team do, Mike?
I got a lot of good comments from the parents and coaches that were out there. They love the fields. They love the fact that the city painted the lines instead of burning the lines in. I even had parents from Gustine come over and say what a great program we had over here because they were coaching or something. So I think it was a good testament to our recreation department that what an excellent job they did. And then they run a snack bar deal for $1 a player. The kid can get either a nacho or a hot dog or a nachos and a soda. So each parent took turns lots of times, and the kid gets a soda and a snack afterwards, and we made money for the teen center, and the kids had a lot of fun. They look forward to those nachos.
The Teen Center ran that as the nonprofit organization, and their share of the profit was $1,500.
Great.
And now we're deciding if we want furniture or a foosball table and an air hockey table. We're kind of fighting right now.
Excellent. Good job, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
Who's this guy?
Mayor, members of the City Council. First of all, I appreciate the kind words and the vote of confidence, if you will, from City Council. It's greatly appreciated. City Manager, thank you so much for your confidence in me. I tell you, I'm having a great time. It's Newman Police Department. It's a great police department. City of Newman's a great city to work for, and I'm having a great time here in this community. Look forward to the next however many months PERS will allow me to stay here. I may have to change my name to Randy Newman or something.
There you go.
But I am happy to report out that we are at full staffing, and I'm excited about that. That was one of the goals that I had set when I first arrived here. The recruitment and retention of our officers, our employees, is very important to me, and it's something that is achievable, and we are achieving that. City Manager's right. We have officers waiting in the wings. You met Reserve Officer Robert Alcantar last month. And he has come to me and said, I'm ready to be a full-time officer when we have a vacant position. So we have somebody waiting in the wings to become an officer. We have other people who are calling me, wanting to put in applications and wanting to know when we're hiring.
From Gustine, or?
No comment.
Oh, okay.
So it is an exciting time. And I'm very, very happy to be able to bring those staffing levels up. We have officers, although we're up in staffing levels, not everybody's on the street because they're still in the field training program. Miguel Villalobos will be getting out of the field training program at the end of this week, and he'll be on his own. John Vera is still in the program. You met him couple months ago. No, last month. And he's brand new, so he'll take all 16 weeks to get through the FTO program, but he's progressing well. So that's for the police department. Now, as police chief, I sit on the board of directors for the Newman Family Resource Center, so I'm going to give them a plug tonight. They are providing, on a grant that they received, free or low-cost mammogram screenings for women 40 years and older. They accept Medi-Cal, Medicare, HMO, PPO insurances are all accepted. The day of the exam is going to be Thursday, November 29th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's being put on by the St. Joseph Medical Center out of Stockton. And I'll give a phone number here so people can call for an appointment. And that phone number is 1-866-430-8222. And just call that number for an appointment. This is one grant that they received this year. They're working on a secondary grant for next year to continue to provide this screening for Newman residents. So I want to make sure we get that word out to all Newman residents. And I know the newspaper is carrying stories on that also. So it's a great service that's being offered. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Chief, one of the complaints that you've heard from us for a long period of time is traffic violations, speeding, running stop signs. Now that you're up to full strength, can we start working on that a little bit?
Yes, that is one of my goals, is to get up to full strength and start addressing some of those nagging issues, those recurring issues. And traffic enforcement is one of those complaints that I receive on a regular basis. Stop signs, speeding in residential areas are the ones that I hear most frequently.
Thank you, that would well be appreciated.
Okay. And I don't know if I can mention a plan I have.
Speed traps?
Go ahead.
Oh.
No. Okay.
Go ahead.
Carte blanche? Okay. I want to report out to City Council some of the plans we have in effect. And there's actually three programs that I want to get instituted, depending upon how long my tenure is going to be here. One of them is a traffic program, bringing in motorcycles for traffic enforcement and having motorcycle officers for traffic enforcement. That's one program. The second program is K-9s. I'd like to have 2 K-9 officers for Newman Police Department, again using existing resources, not asking for additional officers, but assigning 2 of the existing officers as K-9 handlers. Having a K-9 on each squad, which would give us 7-day-a-week coverage, 11 hours a day. And then the third program is having not a SWAT team, but a team to execute high-risk warrants when we have to go after criminals who pose a threat. And we elevate our safety by having special trained, specially equipped officers. So those are the 3 programs that I'm working on and talking with the city manager about to bring forward. And again, having motorcycle officers addresses that traffic issue that you're talking about. So I'm very aware of the issue.
Did Patterson just initiate that?
They did.
Yeah.
Started already.
It was in the paper. You know that firsthand?
Yes.
Personal
Yes,
experience?
yes.
You've been stopped?
No.
No.
A friend of mine, as a matter of fact, so yeah, he is definitely
They started a motorcycle program?
Yeah, well, they did it through an OTS grant.
Yeah, okay.
To reduce collisions. And I wrote a grant probably 6 years ago, maybe. We thought it was going to fly, but it got chopped at the last minute. So, but the funding cycle for OTS doesn't start for a while. But you might contact OTS, and if you don't have those numbers, I can hook you up.
Okay.
And for the grant, for cycling, for grants, because OTS has millions and millions of dollars just laying there to give away.
OTS is the premier place to go for that type of funding. Newman has a lot of complaints on traffic enforcement issues. We don't have the traffic collision numbers
Right.
that OTS looks for
Right.
to fund a lot of these grants. And it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing. I would rather have low numbers on collisions, but it's easier
If you're
justification.
creative, grant,
Yeah.
grant writing, and truly, that's, I mean, they look for those numbers.
Yeah.
But if you're creative in writing the grant, and the grant supervisor for this district sometimes can be very helpful in helping you word
Yeah,
things.
exactly right.
And so, not that
Yeah.
you want to skew your numbers,
No, I mean,
but
figures don't lie, but I understand tonight, liars.
You were paying attention. I'm proud.
but that might be an option.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other staff? Everybody's done? Okay, thank you very much. Items from city council members. Ed?
I would like to just comment and thank our supervisor. I know, Jim, you've been under the gun, taking a lot of heat and in the paper and comments from Mr. Sweetland, Mr. Harris, so forth. But I just like to thank you for not backing down and keeping the West Side at the forefront. And I appreciate. I think you have a good grasp on what's going on, and sometimes it's a tough battle to fight when you're at the bottom of the hill. But I appreciate you not backing down and standing what you believe in and keeping the West Side in your thoughts. Thank you.
Is that it, Ed?
That's probably enough for now.
Okay. Ted?
Again, Jim, and for that task force too, that's moving along real well, the healthcare. And I appreciate you taking the time to do that, because that's going to help us out here in the West Side. I have something, I don't know if this is the right time to talk about it, but I wasn't here when that letter was exposed, but the word trust, and we need to address this, and I don't know if this is the right forum to do it or not, but that letter that was given to West Side and West Park, excuse me, and we need to find out where it leaked. I mean, we can't have that. We need to make sure that we can trust everybody up here. Michael, your staff, the same thing. But I would like to know where that came from. I can't be accused simply because I was in Virginia Beach, but I would like to know, because trust, gosh, if we can't trust each other up here, then who can I trust, or who can we trust? So I don't want to make a big thing out of it, but it's turning into a big thing. So it's almost like a Watergate type thing, where I didn't think that was that bad until you start really thinking about it. So anyway, and again, thank you, Ernie and his crew, and Doug and those people. Excellent job on Lake Kelly. So, but that's all I have.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ted.
John.
Bob?
Yeah, my thunder's been stolen twice. I wanted to talk about that letter also, and I think what the council needs is a policy. So everyone on this council knows that information that they take home, they get their packets, should remain confidential. And I think that's the best way to approach it, with policy that this board has, and we all know that we should be held responsible for any information that we have, and it should not be given out. My second one, of course, is our Supervisor, Jim DeMartini. I can't thank you enough. In fact, my wife even says, tell Jim thanks. And the thing of it is, you've taken a lot of heat for the West Side, and you truly represent the West Side and what we stand for. And we appreciate it. You know, you're the only supervisor I've ever seen in this chamber. And so, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Mike?
I happened to sit into a meeting in Patterson a couple weeks ago with the consultants that we hired to look at the fire department and consolidation on the West Side Fire. Very astute gentlemen. One is an ex-city manager. The other one is from the fire department, been in the fire department many years, retired out of it. And they really have a grasp on, I think, where we're gonna need to go shortly in the future. And I'm very happy that we did financially get involved in that, and I'm looking forward to more results coming out of it. I think it's gonna give us the footprint we need to develop our fire department and go to a paid fire department not too far in the future. So, good meeting.
Thank you, Mike.
And Jim, give him hell.
Mike, just, I was told when we had the recess that they also that signed the resolution backing,
The fire department?
yes. So.
Good.
Just wanted to mention that if you're done?
I'm
You're
done, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to mention, on the 26th of November, the last Monday of this month, the Army Corps of Engineers is going to be in town. We're going to have an update. They're going to come for an evening meeting this time, 6 o'clock, the Louis Newman building. Everyone will be invited as before. All the players involved along the Stemma that have been working on this thing for about 8 years. Fish and Game, Wildlife, all those people will be there. And they wanted to do a nighttime meeting to get more community involvement because we're down to 2 scenarios of from the original 6. So that will be the 26th, the Louis Newman, 6 o'clock. Then on that Thursday, we have a chamber mixer coming up, the 29th, at the our Christmas mixer at the West Side Theater, 6 o'clock. Community's welcome. And on Saturday the 1st, there's our Christmas tree lighting. I believe that's going to be an all-day deal, start about 10, have arts and crafts, booths and stuff, and I think we'll light the tree probably about 5 or 6 when it gets dark. And I think that's it. As our supervisor mentioned, we had a healthcare meeting. Myself and Ted attended last week in Patterson. Thank you, Jim, for continuing that going. A little disappointed the Patterson people weren't there, even though it was in Patterson, the health group, but kind of a conflict, I think, and different things happening. But it was a good meeting, and we must keep that going. And I think that's all I had. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, Randy.